good afternoon. Today you have Reverend Ira Ackery and my good friend Reverend Gregory Seal Livingston. We're here for our weekly show entitled All Hands on Deck. Each week we're coming right at you, talking about the issues that matters the most. We're talking about empowering the masses and encouraging those who are marginalized. That's our motivation. And we bring you greetings from All Hands on Deck staff, and Greg's going to be coming on board to be part of the staff, and we're excited about that, and we're excited about Beauty stepping up, doing all she can to make it work. Today, we're going to be talking about the lessons we learned from the election. It was a big election on last Tuesday, and there were some lessons, and we got a great guy, a longtime friend of mine who has been on the front line, Reverend Gregory Seal Livingston. He's been a pastor. He's been the president of the Westside Ministers Coalition. He's been a part of my Rainbow Push family. Welcome to the show, Reverend Livingston.
Thank you, Dr. Ackery. Glad to be here, always.
Yeah, man, listen, let me just make a hit real quick, because we don't want to just talk about making a difference. We want to be about making a difference. And so what we want to just mention to you, tomorrow at our office, there's an Austin Job Club. Great job referrals, career coaching, interviewing, resume assistance. All services are free. All services are free. 1256 North Waller Avenue. If you get there and they can't help you, call me. Let me know, 773-378-3300. We're not letting people come in there and use up our heat and get free rent and do all of that and not get people some jobs and some opportunities. Right. Come on, talk back to me, somebody.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We got some things we want to talk about. First of all, one thing I want to get your response on, Reverend, is money talks. When it comes down to elections, money does talk. J.B. Pritzker spent $70 million for a shot at the Republican governor, and he is going to spend 70 or 80 more million to take him down. I mean, he easily.
Yes.
I mean, I supported a person I believed in because of the principles in Chris Kennedy, but Chris came in third place. This boy had like 44% of the vote. JB did. Biss had 26. Kennedy had 23. And he has the Kennedy name.
Yes.
But there was not a lot of money in his campaign.
He had the Kennedy name. He didn't have the Kennedy campaign.
Or the Kennedy charisma.
The charisma. I mean, like yourself, I supported Chris too. I believe in those principles. But
what principles did you really like about Chris?
Well, just the way he talked about government and government serving the people and not itself. He identified himself at the beginning that he was a Democrat, but he was not a slave to the party. He was a servant of the people.
Right.
And so even if the party were to lose a seat, if he was going to serve the people, he would suffer the loss. And I admired that in him. But JB, I mean, I'm a Democrat. I'm an independent Democrat. Sure. But, he is the man for the Democratic Party. And he spent his money.
He spent his money.
He spent his money.
He spent his money, man. And people could say, well, he's rich. He's rich. He's got. I looked online. He's worth $3 billion. But I'm sorry, the man spent $70-some million.
That's a lot of money.
If you're going to run for office,
come on,
you got to be vested.
That's right.
You got to put some of your money in.
That's right.
And now, unfortunately, I hate that a lot of these people who have the money are kind of putting us in a position where they're buying these offices. But there's some organizations that should put some of their money behind some credible people if they're really for the people.
If they're for the people, that's right. And you can always tell who they're for by where the money is.
Absolutely. Already we have a caller. Caller, welcome to the show. You on All Hands on Deck with Ira Ackery and Gregory Livingston.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, my name is James. Okay, when y'all talk about like the politicians, they probably run for mayor. I don't think they're doing their job. I think Gary McCarthy might be running, and the other guy named the preacher well, it wasn't now. They gonna try to run for mayor. I think they gonna do the same thing like Mayor Daley and Rod Emanuel. They gonna cover up, and Kim Pfeiffer ain't doing her job.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for calling. What do you say to that?
Well, you know what, this mayoral field is going to be something because you have candidates who are from every part of the spectrum.
Sure.
You got, of course, the incumbent Rahm Emanuel, the former police superintendent Gary McCarthy, the former
Now, that is
school.
the story.
That's the story. and the former school superintendent Paul Vallis,
Ain't that something?
and then you have businessman Willie Wilson coming for his second time around.
Sure.
Then you have possibly Lori Lightfoot, who had the police accountability study, who really showed herself as being, a person to be listened to be considered an independent.
Sure.
And so.
And Troy LaValliere.
Yes, the principal who stood up to the mayor, and so it's a field with educators, police officers, business people, thinkers,
Absolutely.
and the like. So it's a real, we need to have a vigorous and critical discussion of the issues that affect this city because Chicago is shrinking because of a lack of opportunity. And how do we bring opportunity back and bring, these native Chicagoans and other people who add to us back to the city?
So we're going to have a very interesting mayoral race, and money is going to make the difference. And what bothers us and what troubles us, even though many people are jumping in this race because of the unpopularity and the vulnerability of Rahm Emanuel, one thing that Rahm has is money.
Big money.
He has a lot of donors who will support him. His brothers in Hollywood, and they just pad those financial coffers, man, like they're giving... putting candy in Easter bags.
Or like Halloween.
Absolutely.
That's right. Trick or treat. That's right.
So
yes, sir.
Rahm is going to be tough to beat. I don't care how much he's disliked and how much disdain there is in the air for him, because taking him out is going to be tough, because he's going to go around and he's going to buy off people. He's going to have these little cute commercials where he puts on his little sexy sweater and he walks in looking all warm and fuzzy, and once you keep seeing it all day, and nobody else is buying commercials because of the limited money and the limited resources, people start thinking, the election must be over. Nobody else is running.
But Reverend Acri, this time around, it's a little bit different with Gary McCarthy. Because he brings with him the whole Laquan McDonald fiasco.
Absolutely.
He cannot walk away from that. Wherever he is, that's there. And that is a specter looming over Rahm Emanuel. It's just like Donald Trump and Stormy Daniels when he paid Stormy the money so far before the presidential election. And now, when did Rahm pay the McDonald family before his election? And now the man who's in the middle. I mean, who else does the police superintendent talk to? Who's above him? Only one person, the mayor. And it seems like McCarthy is not afraid to talk about it, because that's all we've seen on the front page of the paper is Rahm Emanuel and Gary McCarthy.
Absolutely. I'm just wondering, I hope people have the discipline and the intellect wherein they don't get to the point. I'm just sick of hearing about the Laquan McDonald murder, the police murder. I hope it doesn't get to that point, because some people say they're tired of hearing about slavery, but that's our history.
Well, look, the Jason Van Dyke, the officer that executed Laquan McDonald, that trial has yet to begin. So think about that. In the middle of this mayoral race, this trial is going to begin. So there's no way in the world that the incumbent can get away from this, and they're going to call the police superintendent to the stand. Now, the mayor may try to pull some kind of legal piece where the mayor doesn't have to testify, but guess what? In this instance, silence is not golden.
So you're saying you can run?
Well, come on, Doc.
You can run, but you can't hide.
You can't hide.
We have a caller. Caller, welcome to the show. You're on All Hands on Deck with Ira Acri and Gregory Seal Livingston.
Yes, and good afternoon, guys. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Listen, number one, I am so sick of tired of these candidates that wants to run, but they're not a politician. And McCarthy, who in the heck want to run behind McCarthy? The police officers didn't want to respond to him. So how is he going to respond to a city of Chicago? We get all these people that wants to run and beat Rahm. We understand why certain people don't want Rahm in. Listen, you have your West Side coalitions. I know you want to deal with your people, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's have the right person in office that's going to be able to do the right thing.
Well, listen, it's
Look at
open
Donald
season
Trump.
now. Give us some
Look at
recommendation.
Donald
We got
Trump.
people here. Who do you want to run?
Rahm, he's the best one.
Oh, you
I
want
think
Rahm
Rahm's
Emanuel.
on
God
one.
bless you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Caller, welcome to the show.
Yes.
Caller, speak up. You're on All Hands on Deck. Ira Ackery and Gregory Livingston.
Good evening. Let me ask you a quick question. What's better than one great reverend?
What's his question?
The answer is two great reverends, and they're both on TV.
Thank you.
Now let me
Thank you, sir.
say this. Let me just say this. You know what? All the guys that are back in office for the last 20 years, they're back in office, and guess what? Nothing's changed. It's gotten worse. Maybe if the two great reverends up there on TV right now put their heads together, we can get people that want to help the West Side and the South Side and the North Side and the East Side. Right now, nothing.
Thank you so much, sir.
Color and name.
Ira, we got to run. Greg, you want to respond?
Well, I think, first of all, thank you, caller, for the wonderful compliment, and I'm a big
Appreciate
fan
it.
of Ira Ackery because he stands up. He's an independent voice, and
Greg is the real deal.
so we pat each other
No,
on the
you're a
back.
prophet for real, man.
Well, you're the chief apostle.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. But I think what he's saying there is important because, we represent people.
Sure.
We're certified leaders of people. And so it's our responsibility to be accountable to these people. And so we have to expose those who have entrusted us to the best possible options for the best possible lives in this city. And I think that we don't need to be beholden to anybody. We need to be free
Absolutely.
and unbought. And
unbossed.
and unbossed and unsent, and thereby we can stand tall and say to the people, here's what it is, whether it's good or bad, whether the politician likes us or not, whether the unions like us or not, but our first priority is to God and to the people.
Absolutely. One more lesson I learned. We learned that money is power,
Yes,
and you
sir.
cannot run. The game has changed. Don't you jump out there because you feel like I got to do something. You better have a resource that you can depend upon or know how to raise some money because you cannot be viable without financial resources. Listen.
Because if you can't raise money, you don't have followers, you just have admirers.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes,
good.
sir.
That's good. Listen, I also learned and was reminded the media is so powerful.
Amen.
The media is powerful. Yes, of course, we supported Fritz Kagan, and we wanted him to win because certainly this guy, Joe Barrios, was the reverse Robin Hood. The way he was assessing the taxes,
Wow.
he was actually robbing from the poor, giving to the rich.
Come on,
You
Doc.
dig?
Yes, sir.
And so it was just diabolical the manner in which he was running the Cook County Tax Assessor's office. But it's clear that the Chicago Tribune, man, they were on a mission to get rid of him because the Tribune made it their daily assignment to take on Joe Barrios. I mean, for 10 consecutive days before the election, they had columns dedicated with this theme, 10 reasons why Barrios has to go.
Yes, sir.
That was unprecedented.
Unprecedented.
I'd never heard that before.
Neither have I. Never.
Incredible.
He was that bad.
Yeah, he was that bad, and the media clearly took a side on it. And certainly, that's what we really need. We need the media to be the fourth estate.
Yes.
And truly inform the people.
Yes, sir.
Inform the people.
That's right.
Inform the people.
That's right.
But in a real sense, we see a whole lot of fake news.
Yes.
And it depends on who's reporting the news, whether you get truth or not.
That's right.
Or what perspective. Just report the facts. Another thing, I want to hear your point on this, Greg. We looked at Toni Preckwinkle. Toni Preckwinkle, her popularity diminished a great deal over the last year. But she because of the party politics, she overcame some major obstacles, and she ended up being a big winner. But the truth of the matter is, when you look at Toni Preckwinkle, she got 60% of the vote, and the opposition got 40% of the vote, and this guy's lost so many races, and that just proves that you can't defeat somebody with nobody.
Come on, Doc.
You get my point? You got to have a viable candidate if you're going to take out somebody.
That's right.
What do you think about Toni's performance?
Well, first let me say that, I give her due as being the first elected black female in that position. Of course, Bobby Steele was the first, but she was appointed. And, but, she was struggling with being Queen Sugar. Because Todd Stroger, she got him on that
Absolutely.
penny tax.
Tell the truth.
And so now with this soda sugar tax that came out, this is something that almost, ended her political career.
It did.
But Toni has put together an organization, and the organization was able to trump, as you said, a nobody organization. And that might sound harsh to people that are listening, but this is like surgery. I don't want a surgeon who's scared to cut me. I need him to hurt me to help me. And so this is what happens. If you're going to beat somebody like Toni, you better start working and building now. Like Reverend Ackley said, you need money, you need political organization, and you need stamina. You got to be able to stay in this race.
And she took out her chief critics, my very good friend Richard Boykin and Rick Fritchie up north. These people got on the front line fighting for working class and middle class. And, they turned on them. That takes me to another point. It's hard to be an independent leader in the black community.
Why do you say that, Reverend?
I say that because if you're looking for the prototype of independent leadership, the person who comes to mind is a guy like Richard Boykin. But he stood up and he fought for us. I mean, he led the repealing of the sugar tax. He stood up to Preckwinkle. He stood up to Rahm Emanuel. He stood up to the party bosses. He stood up to Joe Barrios. He was on the front line fighting to stem the tide of violence. He was one of the key leaders who came out and marched around City Hall in the face of the Laquan McDonald police murder. All of the party bosses came out against him.
Yes.
Jesse White, Toni Preckwinkle, Don Harmon, and the CTU, and all of the big unions came out and put $500,000 in Brandon Johnson's campaign, and they really ran a great campaign. They were sharp. I mean, they had some pros to come in.
Pros.
They had some mailers coming to. I live in the neighborhood. I'm not like some guys who drive in, an hour and a half away and drive in. I live in the neighborhood. I dodge some of this turbulence in the inner city. You know what I mean? I'm out there fighting, and so I got these mailers in my house.
Yes.
And nice mailers.
Yes. They spent money.
Yeah, they spent money.
Yes.
They spent money.
That's right.
They spent money. And they threw everything but the kitchen sink at Richard Boykin, and they still barely beat him.
Reverend, if I could just add to what you're saying, because I agree with you totally, because it's hard sometimes for the average working man and woman to be into this stuff like we are.
Sure.
And we work too, but it's just that this is part of what we do.
Absolutely.
And, for the Boykins of the world, I'm not comparing him to this man, but the same folk that were against him, had they been around at this time, they would have been against Dr. King. Because before Dr. King was assassinated, he had one of the lowest approval ratings.
I know you're right.
Because he was standing up for what's right and standing up for the people. And so just like Richard Boykin was standing up, the powers that be came against him. And so people out there need to understand that if you want to make a difference and if you want to make a change, it will not be easy. Everybody's not going to like you. There's going to be enemies against you, forces against you, and it's going to be a real battle. But understand, you can win. You may not win this go round. But like Abraham Lincoln, how many times did he run and did he lose?
That's right. But the thing about it, I heard other people had interest. Brandon Johnson, let me just tell you,
Yes,
is
sir.
a good guy. Brandon, I'm really, honestly, I was with Richard Boykin because I'm a loyal guy. And I personally believe in the principles that he was standing for. Me and Brandon have had discussions, and we've agreed on a lot of stuff, and some stuff we agreed to disagree on.
Sure.
But he's a man, he's a family man. And he's given his life to the Chicago Teachers Union, and we appreciate the work that he has done. Had I been with him, I would have been all the way in, because I don't go halfway in, I go all the way in.
And let me just add, Brandon, like yourself, Brandon and Richard are both friends of mine.
Sure.
And so, and my point before was just really, it was that these forces that come together, and sometimes, you may be on the right side of these forces, but be careful, because these same forces that are helping you now, because we're in the Easter season, right? They're crying, Hosanna, Hosanna,
Yes,
but then a few days later, they're saying crucify him, because that is the nature of those kind of organizing forces.
That's right. And see, the thing about it, and one thing about Brandon is young.
Yes.
He's young, and his there's no limit on where he can go.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is, what we see in our community, people don't want you to emerge if you have a vision. They didn't want Richard to emerge.
No.
So they wanted to make sure they put their foot on his neck and press him down and keep him from skyrocketing. Certain people tried to keep Barack Obama from emerging.
They tried to stop Bobby Rush. He he crushed him
Watch
in the
out
election. he crushed him. But it was
Prophets speak the truth.
He was up against the machine at that time.
Yes, he was.
He was not the machine pick. There's a book by Ed Klein called The Amateur, where they talk about Barack Obama, and there's a part of the book where President Clinton and Hillary are sitting there talking with some other power brokers, and they said, Barack Obama, he's such an amateur. But then when Barack caught the imagination of the people, they realized we got to shift.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Barack Obama, I remember when Hillary Clinton ran the first time, there were black elected officials, there were women,
Yes.
there were African American ministers all over with Hillary Clinton.
All of them.
All of them were over there, except for a small percentage. You hear me? And then finally, when the majority community got behind him, they found out they better jump on the moving.
That's right. They jumped on too, Doc.
Jump on the winner.
That's right.
Back of the winner, absolutely.
They were like Cubs fans.
Yes, sir.
Come on, Doc.
Jump on the bandwagon.
That's right.
Yes, sir. 312-738-1060. You are welcome to call in. So many lessons we learned from the election. Fritz Kagi won. We saw how the media played a role. JB had an easy path to victory. Once he dropped in $77 million. And when they don't care anything about the stuff he said about black people, once they get a chance to see all those beautiful, cute commercials he put out,
They distracted us. But
Yeah.
Rev, on the other side of that, Rauner and Jeannie Ives. Rauner spent about $60 million, but he got away from his base.
Absolutely.
And Jeannie Ives almost came through there and won.
Almost upset him. Caller, welcome to the show. Speak quickly. We're almost out of time.
Yes, hi, my name is Cherie, and I was agreeing with you all. I'm a working class woman. I'm a single mom in my home, and a lot of times we are not familiar with all the things that the politicians are doing. So a lot of times you just hear a commercial, you say, oh, okay, and you go behind the candidate. I hear all these people, we at work, we talk, and the average human being that's working has no idea about their candidate.
Man, I really appreciate you calling in.
Amen.
Listen, you are the caller of the show.
That's right.
Caller of the show.
That's real.
Many people just don't have the time. They work hard every day, working, I call it for mean bosses, overtime at low pay.
Come on,
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And so they just don't have time to research this stuff. I've told people in my congregation, find you somebody, a political mentor
Yes.
that you trust, that you can ask them questions, and they can give you a list as to who they are voting for and why.
That's right.
Greg, we're out of time, man. This has been phenomenal.
I love your show.
I love it. Give me a prediction. Who's going to the runoff in the mayoral election? I think at the end of the day, I'm going to be all the way over there with my boy Uncle Willie. Uncle Willie, I'm telling you, Uncle Willie. I mean, when you look at who's in the race right now, he is the only one. If you want to get the most eloquent guy, why not get Rahm Emanuel?
Right.
He's probably the better speaker. You want to get the most passionate guy?
Right.
Why not get the cool guy with the swag from New York? But you want to get somebody that's concerned about our issues.
Come on.
It's Dr. Willie Wilson. What you think?
He's been in the community forever without media. He's been a philanthropist in the community. And many folk here don't get it confused when it comes to a person's speech. Richard J. Daley controlled this city, controlled the country.
You got it.
John F. Kennedy elected, and guess what? He was not eloquent, nor his son. Harold Washington was the most eloquent mayor we've had in the last 70 years.
And they fought him to death, but he was victorious.
That's
Thank
right.
you so much. You've been watching All Hands on Deck. Keep it right there, baby.
Yeah, man. Boom.
Yes, sir.
All hands on deck.
See you next week.
All right.